In the realm of artificial baits for fish, there's something I've only made one of before. I happen to have it right here. Spearing decoys. This is one of a brook trout that I made long time ago. I just made it and put it up because it's a pretty looking one, you know? I think I made this in 2015. I know very little about them. I know that they swim in circles. The body is curved. This one's just very slightly curved. You pull up on the line tie. The fins stick out like that to catch water and make this thing, I don't know, fall in circles or rise in circles too. I guess just do circles is the most important thing probably. A lot of these can just be decorative pieces too. This sport, I guess, involves spearing a fish. Like you attract them with these because they're swimming in circles, and the big pike is like, oh, what's that? And swims up and then gets stabbed by you. And that's the point of ice fishing, or no, spearing decoys is what they're called. But a lot of people don't like to do that. Well, a lot of people don't do that, but they like the decoys because they're pretty. So I was thinking, I'm going to try my hand at making a functional one that is pretty. It's single digits right now in late February, so I can still go out on the ice and test it out. Oh, and what the kind of decoy I'm going to make is not common. We're going to make a hammerhead shark spearing decoy. I glued up 3 boards to make one big chunk of wood over there already. Are you guys ready for some fun facts? So, as far as I can tell, there are 8 different kinds of hammerhead sharks. There's a winghead, there's a scalloped bonnet head, there's the Carolina hammerhead, there's the scalloped hammerhead, just scalloped hammerhead, there's the scoop head, there's the great hammerhead, the bonnet head, the small hammerhead, and the smooth hammerhead. What am I making? What I'm cutting out is a picture of a scalloped hammerhead shark. So the hammer part of their head is actually called a cephalofoil. That's what makes them easily distinguishable from other sharks, is that thing on their head. And their eyes are facing left and right on the ends of that thing. Cephalofoil is what the thing is. For the second time. They're found worldwide in warm waters, along coastlines. These kinds of sharks, they actually swim in schools during the day, it says, and they hunt at night alone. Within all of the species of hammerhead sharks, their size ranges from 3 feet to almost 20 feet. 20-foot shark is no joke. Weighing up to 1,278 pounds. They have small mouths compared to their body. It's disproportionate, I guess, when you compare them to other sharks. It says when they swim in schools, they can be in groups of over 100. That's pretty crazy. A school of 100 shark. They're thinking that the hammer part of their head, the cephalofoil, I hope I'm saying that right, evolved that way to enhance the shark's vision. It enhances it by, it's likely that it gives them a more 360-degree view of everything that's around them. But it was at the cost of their mouth. They don't have as good, they're not as well equipped to kill with their mouth as a normal shark would be. I'm sure they can do it just fine still though. All sharks, they have these things called electroseparatory sensory pores, and it's just kind of an electrical system that helps them sense what's around them a little better. These hammerhead sharks, with the cephalofoil thing on the front of their head, there's a wider area for that system to work better. And so they're more adept for sensing what's around them than what a regular shark is. These sharks, hammerheads, they eat a lot. They probably aren't as picky as a normal shark. This isn't a fact here, I'm just thinking. They're probably not as picky as a normal shark or like a great white shark because they're not able to get their prey as easy with their smaller mouth. So they probably eat a lot more of like octopus and squid and crustaceans and stingrays and stuff. It says they occasionally engage in cannibalism. Seems like a common thing in the animal kingdom. Yeah, this is the only known case of potentially omnivorous shark species. There's only been 17 documented unprovoked attacks by hammerhead sharks on humans. 17 of anything in documented world history is very little. No fatalities have been recorded. So they got kind of a spawning season once a year, I guess. They only reproduce once a year. A lot of the time the male ends up biting the female violently until she agrees to reproduce with him. Not the ideal dating model, so don't get advice on dating from a hammerhead. Other than that, the rest of the ways of reproduction is pretty typical for fish. But definitely what's most interesting about a hammerhead shark is their head and their ability to see on almost all angles at all times. That's pretty crazy that evolution would develop such a thing. Well, it makes sense why evolution would develop such a thing, but it is also interesting that it's at the cost of something else, their mouth. Their species just saw it fit to see better than eat better. So, before I ramble too much, fun facts are over. This is tulip poplar, by the way. That's what kind of wood it is. That little edge right there is going to be where the mouth's at. So right there I'm going to have to kind of form that into the shape of a mouth. Looking at the shark from the side, that little line right there is the material I have to remove up here. So it's going to be that shape. The hammer is going to be that shape. I'll just be gradually bringing everything to the shape it needs to be. I guess that's what carving's all about. So looking at pictures of hammerheads, the transition from the body into the head is really smooth. There's really not much going on. If anything, it just it goes down into it and then it flares back up. And there's kind of the wing shape on the end there, on the eye. But the whole cephalofoil is like flat and flared up a little bit. Like, that is pretty much the extent of the carving I need to go to get the transition from the body to the head. Yeah. I don't know why that's weird to me. It's just kind of unexpected. Upon closer inspection of this hammer part of a hammerhead, the only thick parts are the ends here, and it gets really thin in the middle, right in front of the mouth. It gets really thin, this part. So I'm going to thin this whole thing down and leave the ends thick. I need to put much more of a bow in the front of the head too. I think I'm just going to carve away these details that I put in already because they're kind of wrong. Needs to be more like that and still come up right here. All of this carving is right across the grain too, so it's a little ugly. Kind of hard to work with. I'll just have to take my time. So I think we've got kind of a subconscious recognition of the finer details of what, like, you look at an animal and you would think, oh, that animal doesn't look quite right because just a fine detail about it's off. One of the finer details about a hammerhead shark that makes it like that's an accurate representation of a hammerhead shark is the teardrop shape of the body from the top to the bottom. The bottom's thicker, wider. Towards the top, it's a lot more narrow, and it almost goes flat on the belly. I think if you left the body just as a round shape and you didn't put that teardrop in it, even someone who's not looking for detail would see like that piece is a little bit off, you know? People see like the really fine details a lot more than they think, I think. So now it's time to make this fin really narrow at the top and skinny, 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 skinny as you're going down, and then exponentially get fatter and mesh into the body nicely. I have a center line drawn down the middle to help me. There's one drawn down the back here too. I think what I'll do is not try to carve it with a knife. I'll come back with a small Dremel bit and try to make that look nice. We'll just get the top as thin as it needs to be. This is a rather large circular burr bit that I'll use. So now I'm going to thin out the tail fin too, just like I did the dorsal here, using a more powerful tool. We're getting to the point where everything's carved. Just got to start smoothing things out and getting things to the perfect shape that they will be. This is a good step to really take your time on too. Take breaks while you're doing, because you're establishing every line on the body of this bait and every curve, concave, convex. If you want to over dramatize any kind of feature, now's the time. Okie dokie. It's time to get the fins. It's time to get the fins cut out. I'm gonna be using aluminum. I think that's pretty standard for spearing decoys, to use aluminum for the fins that stick out from the sides and stabilize the bait. I'll just use the picture that I had as a template, cut this fin out. So that's a lot what it'll look like, this one. There's also this one down here too. Those two. I decided that the side fins are going to need to be a little bit longer. If they aren't longer than that, they just don't look quite right, really. So I think I want to file each of these tabs that get stuck into the bait. I want to file them to a point so I can drill a hole that's not the diameter of how thick these tabs are. It's a little bit smaller. Then when I shove it in, it'll, they'll grip and bind and stick in there nicely, and the glue will hold real good. That way they'll be pretty easy to install too. I'll just mark, with the fin on the side of the body and jab it in there, and that'll leave a mark where I have to drill the hole. So this should work out pretty smooth. So I already made some marks on this side here. Flipping it over and lining up where I cut out this fin with where this one should go. And then just using these tabs that I made to mark. And there's where I need to drill the holes. I'm sketching out the last of the details that I have to carve into this hammerhead. It's the mouth, the eyeballs on both sides of the head, and the gills. The gills will be pretty simple. But yeah, the fins, they turned out great. Once I get multiple layers of polyurethane on this shark, I think the seams, or the transitions from the body to the fin, will smooth out really nicely. I'll be sanding and then reapplying and sanding and reapplying more and more polyurethane to give this a really smooth body, while still trying to maintain the details I'm about to carve. So I'm going to actually score and carve to that top lip and just carve the teeth on the bottom row, I think, and that'll look pretty accurate. I think that's mostly what you see on a real hammerhead anyway, is just the bottom row of teeth. But I have to carve to that top lip from the inside here, like that. That's a little tricky. That was more just to establish that's where they're going to be, the gills. I'm going to carve them a lot deeper so the clear coat doesn't just gloss over them and take out the detail, but that's where they'll be. This is not a good way to weigh a bait, but it is a way to find the center of gravity for a lure. I suppose I should preference and say the best way to weigh a bait is just trial and error. Record what you're doing, find the best spot for the weight to be, and there it is, But just for convenience sake, I'm going to do it this way, where I just find the center of gravity by pinching the side of the bait. And like up here is not the center of gravity, and back here isn't, but it's like right here. And find the benchmark on the bait where it is. It's like right at the back of the fins. Mark it. So if I evenly distribute lead around this mark, like I'll probably drill 2 holes that are evenly sized and spaced evenly away from this line, it should have all the weight that it needs to sink distributed evenly around the center of gravity on the belly of this bait, so it can do its thing. And that's just going off the assumption that that's what a decoy needs. I really don't know. I haven't looked in the forums. I don't know how to weigh a decoy. I'm gonna try it that way first with this bait, and we'll see how it does. That's a 1/2 inch bit, and it's gonna go a 1/2 inch down, and there'll be 2 of those holes for the lead. And yeah, I have to hold it by hand and push it into the bit because there's no way to drive the bit down without breaking that dorsal fin, really, or taking the chance. I could try to prop it up, I guess, on stuff, but I don't want to mar the wood, and I can just hold it. I repositioned this bit in the chuck for like 10 minutes and I can't get it straight. It's just a cheap, disgustingly crooked bit, and it's making it kind of sketchy to do this by hand, but you know. Alright, pretty big holes. I think this should sink pretty fast, have a pretty good sink rate. Like I said, I really don't know what I'm doing when it comes to the weight distribution in this bait, but I'm trying something and we'll go from there. So now I'm just going to use some super glue and baking soda, and I'm just going to cover up this lead so it's flush with the belly. So I'm looking at pictures of spearing decoys and trying to figure out where I should put the line tie on this shark. There's some decoys that have multiple line ties, like that, or even that. And I don't know what to think about that, because that could mean that it's adjustable and forgiving. You can move where the line tie is and it'll still work, but just in different ways. Or if they're putting multiple line ties on the bait in order to be able later to tie onto the perfect spot for it to work perfectly. So it's a tricky thing to get right. I think just for decorative purposes, I'm gonna make a big old guess and put the line tie where I think it should go based on the pictures, and see how it works. They look nice and clean with just one, so I'm just gonna do that. It's gonna go right there. Don't think I'll need to use a long screw eye either, because there's not gonna be any fish trying to be caught with this thing. It's just dangling it in the water. So I'll just screw a 5/8 inch screw eye in here, stainless steel. So the last thing to do before sealing the wood, I just got to go over the whole thing with some 220 grit, make sure every little bit of it is smooth and the shape that I want it, because when I'm done with that, that's what I'm committing to, and that's what I'm going to seal, and that's what will be painted. So all the carvings have to be perfect. I mean, I guess you could carve and seal. I guess you're not really committed, but I like to have it done and out of the way, you know? I don't know what I'm saying anymore, I'm sorry. I'm probably gonna cut to sealing the wood right now. So this is gonna be a big, awkwardly shaped bait with only one line tie and nothing else to anchor to hold on to while I'm painting. So I came up with a little 3-clamp thing with a wire running through the top so it sits vertically. I think it should work fine. I'm going to add way more than what's necessary, and then come back and watch this thing for like a half an hour and collect the drips off of any fins or any spots that it's dripping. Every time I put a new coat on of this polyurethane, I'll have to do that. Depending on how many coats it takes to get those fins to mesh into the body really nicely, I don't know if I'm going to do like 3, 4, 5, 6 coats of polyurethane. But after that, I'm going to paint a hammerhead. I've painted a shark before. Not a hammerhead. I'll have to figure out if they're different colors. So, first thing, gotta paint this whole thing white. It's all smooth now. This bait's gonna have a really simple paint scheme. Another shark. So I was looking at pictures of hammerheads. They have like a brownish grayish, very, very light brown. It's like a reddish brown that's in the gray. Can't get carried away with the brown. But it's even easier than the great white shark was, because there's not a clear line. It fades into the white belly. So really easy to do with an airbrush, and I don't have to get the hand brush out for that. I will be brushing on the teeth, but that's it. Easy peasy. Maybe I could just leave it an albino hammerhead. I don't think people would understand what I was going for if I did that. Okay, wait for that to dry. We'll spray the gray. So I'm going to use some Wicked Gray. Get the gray on this shark, and then lightly do the extra colors after that. So just from that gray, it did a really good job of making this look like a shark. I'm gonna go for the brown now. I'm gonna add the brown to this, and that could be all that this bait needs. It could be done after that. Well, I'm gonna do the little mouth details with a tiny brush, but after that, yeah, that could be it, because it looks really good already. Some hammerhead sharks are just gray, but I'm gonna go for the brownish color ones like this. I don't know if it's picking up any brown on the camera, but that's what I'm going for. Here I go. I'm gonna have to be careful. Can you see any brown? I took that air compressor out of a cabinet, so it's every time it's turning on, it's scaring the crap out of me because it's way louder not being in the cabinet. So I think I put plenty of brown on it. You can probably see that really easy now. I'm gonna go back over it with some silver, and that'll make you like have to take a double take and see like, oh, is it brown? And then yeah, I think that's what the color needs to be. That did the trick. So white belly, a little bit of brown, mostly gray, with a shimmer. Beautiful. I'm gonna go for just darkening behind the teeth, and hopefully I'm gonna be able to leave the teeth themselves white. Doing the pink around the mouth now. It's kind of a flesh tone mixed with a pink. Just trying to make it look messy. There. That looks sort of realistic. So next up, I need to do the eyeballs. For the eyeballs, I'm going to be mixing up some 5-minute epoxy, and I'm going to add some stuff to that. I got silver, or is this white? We'll just say silver, and some scarlet. Oh, micro pearl. So it's just pearl. I got some pearl. I think it'll show up as white. And then I got some, I'm going to use just a tiny bit of that scarlet color. And these are powders that you add to resin to dye them. And this will be the base color for the eye. So yeah, the majority of that little circle is going to be filled up with a big glob of black paint, and just a little bit of that's going to show through. Been a while since I signed anything. Alright, time to clear coat. And I got a new clear coat. It's a UV clear coat, one that sets with ultraviolet light. A 1 part, I'm gonna brush it on, I'm gonna let it drip for a long time, and then blast it with some UV light that I just made this thing an hour ago. It's got 2 lights in it. I lined the walls with aluminum foil. I got some on the lid too. I'll be able to put my bait in there, put the lid on, and 20-30 minutes later, then it's good to go. Like completely set, like you can go fish with it set. I hope that's true, because that would be super convenient to have a clear coat that I can apply, put in that thing, and take it out, and it's completely ready to go and fish with the same day. That'd be nice. We'll see. I don't know. I haven't tried it yet. Doesn't smell good. It doesn't smell like chemically, like a whole bunch of chemicals are really potent. It just kind of has a bad smell. It's goopy. Do I need to stir this? It's kind of nerve-wracking working with something and putting it on a bait or a decoy that you've worked a long time on. I could be ruining this decoy right now, you know? I thought it was going to be more liquidy. It's really thick. It is kind of nice knowing that this is not setting up. I can just apply it for as long as I want. Makes this a lot less stressful. This stuff's starting to smell kind of good. Maybe that's not a good thing, but yeah. Okay. Into the chamber it goes. I'll leave it in there for a half an hour and just check on it. I feel like I need those tanning goggles, you know. That's thick ice. Well, we drilled like 4 holes right next to each other. We're gonna see how the hammerhead shark decoy works, and the water clarity is just, it's not clear at all. Like you can't see through the water at all. I don't know why. This lake's usually really clear, but we're gonna have to figure out some other way to show it. I'll think of something. Can you see it?
Yeah.
It kind of works, you know. Well, it's supposed to do circles better, I think, but bonus fishing. We're finally getting around to using the ice fishing lures that I made in early March. This is the one Chelsea will be using, the pink one. There you go, Chelsea.
Thanks.
I'll use the blue one. What? Just try to put it on the bottom and bring it back up and jig it around. I'll be using this one.
You get one?
Yep. I figured I'd do a little bit of bonus fishing for fishing with those ice fishing lures because I haven't fished with them yet. Only caught that one fish, so I didn't want to drag it out too much. This thing didn't work too well. It made huge circles. The radius of the circles, or the diameter of the circles, would probably be over 5 feet if you allowed it to do a full circle, which is way too much, I think. And then on the way up, when you pulled it up, it didn't want to circle. It actually wanted to back up a little bit. The problem might have a lot to do with the cephalofoil, the hammer on the head. That's probably the problem, is this thing on the head catching all sorts of water in ways it's not supposed to. Other than that though, the build went smooth. The UV resin and my cabinet-sized UV ray blaster that I made worked well. A little bit of a learning curve, a couple things. I had a drip on the tail and a glob on that back fin there. But this stuff, it dries so hard. Like I can just get my Dremel out and shave that off and maybe spritz it with some clear and you'd never know. I like it. It turned out great. The colors are great, the shape's great. The mouth is probably my favorite part. Looks like it just got done eating something. It's a cool piece. Yep. Chip approves. That's good. Learned quite a bit from building that. I know how I would weigh one differently now. I'd put a lot more weight in the head. Don't put a giant fin on the face, and make the body have more of a curve so it does tighter circles. So I know what to do for the next one. That's it. On to the next bait. Right here. Good boy.